You carry in the palms of your hands a power that could completely transform your reality, but you've probably spent your entire life ignoring it. Your hands are not just tools for holding objects or typing messages. They are living portals capable of emitting measurable electromagnetic fields that alter the structure of matter around you. Scientists like Itzhak Bentov have proven it. In specific states of consciousness, the human palms become transmitters of organized energy, able to influence biological systems, collapse quantum probabilities, and materialize intentions into the physical world. But nobody ever taught you this. Modern education conditioned you to believe you're a passive observer of reality, limited by Newtonian physics, forever separated from the world by an impenetrable barrier between mind and matter. That belief isn't just wrong, it keeps you trapped in a diminished version of your true capacity. Every second you spend without consciously activating this power is a waste of extraordinary potential. Ancient traditions preserved this knowledge through mudras, sacred gestures, and energy practices. Modern science is finally validating what mystics have always known. And you're about to discover exactly how to access the biological technology that has always been right there in your hands. Itzhak Bentov discovered something that would forever change how we understand the human body. The hands emit measurable electromagnetic fields, waves of energy that can be detected, mapped, and studied with precision. What truly stunned Bentov, however, wasn't just the existence of these fields. It was their behavior. In altered states of consciousness, these emissions dramatically amplify, as if something inside the body awakens and begins pulsing with an entirely different force. These fields are not mere electrical currents from ordinary neural activity. They exhibit patterns, coherence, a quality that suggests intelligent organization. It's as if the hands transform into transmitting antennas for something conventional science still hesitates to name: intention materialized as energy. Bentov realized he was looking at living portals, interface points where consciousness meets matter and writes direct commands into the fabric of physical reality. Each palm contains an extraordinary density of nerve endings, more than any other part of the human body. This concentration is no accident. Evolution sculpted the hands as precision instruments, not just for manipulating physical objects. The palms function as sophisticated neural keyboards capable of translating thoughts into tangible commands that interact directly with the surrounding field. Bentov observed that during deep meditation, especially practices involving visualization and focused intention, the electromagnetic fields radiating from the hands create specific patterns, energetic signatures that match the meditator's mental content. This is revolutionary. The hands don't merely respond to brain impulses to perform mechanical movements. They translate internal states of consciousness into measurable physical phenomena. Bentov showed that the difference between an ordinary person and an experienced healer lies not in unattainable mystical powers, but in the conscious ability to access and amplify fields we all already possess. The healer doesn't invent energy from nothing. He learns to modulate, direct, and intensify something that has always been there, latent, waiting to be acknowledged. Bentov's data revealed something even more intriguing. In ordinary states of consciousness, these hand fields remain relatively weak and chaotic. But the moment someone enters deep meditative states, especially when combining controlled breathing with clear visualization, the fields don't just strengthen. They organize. They gain coherence, begin pulsing at specific frequencies, and generate waves detectable centimeters away from the palms. It's as if the hands wake from a long sleep, suddenly remembering a forgotten function, a capacity dormant for so long that we came to believe it never existed. Bentov was not alone in these observations. Researchers around the world, using different methodologies, reached similar conclusions. The hands operate as portals, interface points where the boundary between the inner world of consciousness and the outer world of matter becomes permeable and malleable. Every touch, every gesture, every hand position is not just physical movement. It is an act of communication with deeper layers of reality. And the most astonishing part, this ability does not belong only to mystics or spiritual masters. It is encoded in the biological structure of every human being. The difference between those who use this power and those who live unaware of it lies only in awareness, recognition, and the willingness to explore what modern materialist culture has systematically ignored. The implications begin to branch in directions that challenge everything we've been taught about the limits of body and mind. Look at your hands right now. Notice the proportions of your fingers, how each segment relates to the next. What appears to be ordinary human anatomy hides one of nature's deepest codes. Your finger proportions follow the Fibonacci sequence, the same mathematical progression that draws spirals in distant galaxies, arranges petals on a rose, and defines the curve of a seashell. Every finger carries in its structure the same mathematical signature that governs the entire cosmos. This is not poetry or romantic metaphor. It is sacred geometry manifested in flesh and bone. The Fibonacci sequence appears in living systems because it represents the most efficient pattern of growth and organization nature has found. Each number is the sum of the two preceding ones. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on. This progression creates a specific spiral, the golden spiral, seen in everything that grows organically. Human fingers respect these proportions in their joints, relative lengths, and the way they bend and extend. This is not a meaningless evolutionary coincidence. It is code inscribed into living matter itself, a universal language connecting the microcosm of the human body to the macrocosm of the stars. Each finger joint marks a critical point, an energetic condensation node where something invisible anchors into the physical world. Eastern traditions have known this for millennia. Tibetan yogis spent thousands of years mapping the human energy body with a precision science is only now beginning to take seriously. They identified 72,000 nadis, channels through which life force flows to keep the body alive and conscious. Of those 72,000 channels, an extraordinary number converge precisely in the palms of the hands. Each palm becomes a living mandala, a focal point where thousands of energy currents meet, intertwine, and create interference patterns that mirror the structure of the cosmos itself. This convergence is not abstract. The nadis correspond to real physical systems, neural, vascular, and facial networks that Western science recognizes and studies. But the yogis saw further. These channels carry more than blood, nerve impulses, or biochemical information. They conduct pure consciousness, the indefinable quality that turns inert matter into living experience. The palms become portals because that is where channel density reaches a critical threshold, creating a zone of extreme sensitivity where the barrier between inside and outside becomes nearly transparent. Think of the fingers as tunable antennas. Every position they assume alters the energy flow pattern through the palms. Mudras, the sacred hand gestures used in meditation, are not empty symbols or superstitious rituals. They work like keys that unlock specific doors in the body's energetic architecture. Touching thumb to index finger creates a closed circuit that amplifies certain mental states. Extending all fingers in specific directions turns the hands into active transmitters. Folding fingers in particular ways creates containment fields that intensify internal energy before release. Each finger carries its own energetic quality. The thumb relates to fire and willpower. The index finger connects to air and mental clarity. The middle finger anchors ether, the space where all possibilities exist. The ring finger resonates with earth and physical stability. The pinky vibrates with water and fluid emotion. Combining fingers in specific positions is no different from combining musical notes to create chords. You are composing states of consciousness through the geometry of your hands. The ancient masters understood that the hands are not just tools for manipulating the external world. They are control panels for the inner world, command interfaces that allow you to tune frequencies, modulate states, and direct flows of consciousness with surgical precision. And all of it is encoded in the living geometry of your fingers, in that Fibonacci spiral that connects your hands to the galaxies, making every gesture an echo of cosmic motion. Something extraordinary happens the moment you place your hands in specific positions. Your entire body's personal electromagnetic frequency shift. This is not a subtle, imperceptible adjustment. It is a measurable change detectable by sensitive equipment. Certain hand gestures, especially those preserved in contemplative traditions, synchronize brainwaves with a very particular frequency, 7.83 Hz. That is the Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic pulse of the Earth itself, the frequency at which the planet constantly vibrates between its surface and the ionosphere. At this point of synchronization, something profound transforms. The hands cease to be mere flesh, bone, and nerve endings. They become living tuning instruments, biological tuning forks resonating in harmony with the planetary field. In this state, the separation between you and your environment begins to dissolve. The physical boundaries of the body remain intact, but consciousness expands beyond them, accessing non-local layers of reality where time and space no longer function as absolute barriers. This synchronization is no accident. The human brain evolved immersed in this planetary frequency. For millions of years, our ancestors lived in direct contact with the earth, barefoot, sleeping on the ground, breathing in rhythm with natural cycles. Their bodies automatically tuned to the Schumann resonance. Modern life, however, has disconnected us from this fundamental pulse. We live isolated in concrete and steel, surrounded by artificial electromagnetic fields from thousands of electronic devices. The electrical noise of technological civilization creates constant static that drowns out the Earth's natural frequency. Yet the hands remember this lost synchronization. Positioning them in specific ways reactivates ancient neural circuits. Resonance patterns our bodies knew long before language or abstract thought. Mudras function as keys that play forgotten chords in the nervous system's symphony. Bringing thumb and index finger together in a circle while extending the other fingers is not just a pretty pose for meditation photos. That specific configuration creates an energy loop that stabilizes the personal electromagnetic field, reduces neural noise, and allows the brain to tune into lower, deeper frequencies, closer to the 7.83 Hz pulse echoing through the entire planet. Research shows that experienced meditators, those who have practiced for decades, can enter this resonance state in seconds. They simply assume the correct hand posture, breathe consciously, and the entire nervous system realigns. Brainwaves slow from the frantic rhythms of ordinary thought down into theta and even delta frequencies, states normally accessible only in deep sleep. Yet they remain conscious, alert, lucid, awake inside a state most people experience only unconsciously. In this resonance state, the hands stop being passive receivers of tactile sensation. They become active transmitters of organized intention. Healers from many traditions use this principle without necessarily understanding the physics behind it. Through generations of practice and observation, they learned that certain hand positions amplify the ability to influence another person's energetic state. Placing the palms over specific areas of the body while maintaining personal resonance creates a bridge, a channel through which coherence patterns can flow from one nervous system to another. This is not vague mysticism. It is information transfer via biological electromagnetic field. You are not sending imaginary mystical energy. You are emitting coherent electromagnetic patterns that another person's nervous system can detect and, if receptive, begin to mirror. It's like placing two tuning forks close together. One starts vibrating, and the other, through sympathetic resonance, begins vibrating at the same frequency. The hands serve as the primary interfaces of this non-verbal, non-conscious communication system, and the knowledge of how to use these interfaces is etched into the very geometry of the body, waiting only for you to tune to the right frequency to access it. Within each palm operates an energy vortex that most people are completely unaware of. The major chakras along the spine get all the attention in esoteric traditions, but the secondary chakras in the palms are equally powerful, perhaps even more accessible for those beginning to explore these dimensions of human experience. These vortices spin constantly, creating miniature force fields that interact directly with everything you touch, everything you bring near your hands, even the empty space around them. These palm chakras are not decorative. They function as microscopic alchemical laboratories, processing raw energy and transforming it into specific forms according to the intention you project through them. The left and right hands operate with complementary polarities. The left absorbs, receives, draws energy from the environment into your system. The right projects, emits, pushes energy from your interior outward. Together they form a complete circuit, a living generator of materialized intention that runs continuously, whether you are aware of it or not. Think of it as energetic breathing. Just as your lungs draw air in and push carbon dioxide out, your hands constantly exchange energetic information with the surrounding field. The difference is that you can consciously control this exchange. You can direct what the left hand absorbs, modulate what the right hand projects, create closed circuits where energy circulates between the two palms without dispersing, intensifying with each cycle until it reaches densities that produce measurable effects in physical reality. Healers from every tradition discovered this principle through direct practice. They didn't need complex theories or scientific explanations. They simply observed that placing the hands in certain ways over another person's body produced consistent results. Pain decreased, inflammation reduced, emotional states stabilized. Traditional explanations spoke of moving energy, balancing chakras, clearing blockages. They were correct, but they lacked the mechanical component that quantum physics is now beginning to reveal. When you position your hands with clear intention over a biological system, whether your own body or someone else's, you are doing something very specific in the language of physics. You are collapsing quantum probabilities into specific outcomes. At the subatomic level, particles exist in superposition, multiple possibilities occurring simultaneously until something observes, measures, or defines them. Consciousness focused through the hands acts as that collapse mechanism. You are not inventing healing from nothing. You are selecting, from all the possibilities already existing in the quantum field, the one that corresponds to health, balance, and vitality. This sounds abstract until you realize that every cell in the body operates at the quantum level. The biochemical processes keeping you alive depend on quantum events occurring trillions of times per second. Influencing those processes does not require mystical superpowers. It requires only coherence, the ability to maintain a stable, clear pattern of intention while your palm chakras interact with another person's field or your own internal organs. The left hand reads the current state, detecting patterns of imbalance, areas where energy is stagnant or chaotic. The right hand transmits the coherence pattern, the energetic signature of the healthy state you are visualizing. Between the two palms, the circuit closes. Energy circulates, information transfers, probabilities begin collapsing toward healing. And all of it happens because your hands were designed from the beginning to function as precision instruments at the interface between consciousness and matter. Your hands read information your eyes could never see. Every touch transfers data on multiple layers simultaneously. The surface of an object carries far more than physical texture. It contains vibrational history, molecular memory, energy patterns imprinted over time. The temperature you feel is not just heat or cold in degrees Celsius. It is information about the processes that occurred in that material, about the hands that touched it before, about the emotional fields that interacted with it. Everything that exists has a morphogenetic field, an energetic matrix that maintains its form and function. These matrices store information. A crystal kept for years in a certain environment absorbs the frequencies of that place. An ancient piece of jewelry carries the emotions of those who wore it. A personal object retains connection with its owner even at a distance. The palms function as readers of these matrices, decoders able to extract information invisible to every other sense. Advanced practitioners develop an ability called psychometry, the capacity to extract complete narratives from objects through touch alone. Take an old photograph of someone you never met. If your palms are sufficiently sensitized, impressions begin to appear. Flashes of emotion, fragments of scenes, the energetic quality of the person in the image. This is not fantasy or mental suggestion. You are literally reading information fields recorded into the object's physical structure through processes quantum physics is only now beginning to map. Every atom vibrates at specific frequencies. When you touch something, the atoms at your fingertips make contact with the atoms on the object's surface. In that moment of contact, energy fields overlap and information transfers in both directions. You don't just feel the object. You read its energetic signature, decoding patterns stored in its molecular structure. The nerve endings in your fingertips convert those vibrations into electrical signals sent to the brain, but something else happens simultaneously. Your palm chakras perform a parallel reading that completely bypasses the ordinary nervous system. This direct reading occurs at levels ordinary consciousness does not process. The information arrives silently, subtly, often ignored because it doesn't fit the categories we were taught to recognize. But you can train your perception to catch these deeper layers. Start by touching objects with full attention. Don't just feel texture, temperature, weight. Let your palms rest on the surface for a few seconds and notice what impressions arise. They may be colors, vague sensations, subtle shifts in your emotional state, mental images that seem to come from nowhere. Experienced healers use this reading ability to diagnose energetic imbalances. They pass their hands over someone's body, often without even touching the skin, feeling variations in the electromagnetic field that indicate where energy is blocked or pathological processes are occurring before physical symptoms appear. The palms detect temperature changes of fractions of a degree, shifts in bioelectric field density, areas where the vibrational pattern is out of alignment with the rest of the system. This ability is not the exclusive gift of a chosen few. It is a natural biological function of human hands that has atrophied from lack of use. You live in a world that overvalues sight and sound while completely ignoring the richness of information available through refined touch. Your hands are equipped with extraordinary sensors, yet you were taught to use only the most superficial layer, recognizing shapes, avoiding danger, manipulating tools. The deeper layers, those that decode morphogenetic fields and read vibrational history, remain dormant, waiting for you to pay enough attention to wake them. True power emerges the moment you recognize a simple, revolutionary equation. Thought plus hand equals conscious materialization. This is not metaphor or vague spiritual symbolism. It is the operational mechanics of consciousness interacting with physical reality through the most sophisticated instruments evolution ever produced, your own palms. Visualizing while intentionally positioning the hands creates a manifestation triangle connecting three fundamental dimensions of human experience: the mind that conceives intention, the heart that fuels it with emotion, and the palms that anchor everything into the physical plane. The mind alone can imagine 1,000 realities, but they remain ethereal, weightless, without substance. Emotion alone generates intensity, but without clear direction it scatters into chaotic reactions. The hands alone perform empty mechanical movements devoid of conscious purpose. But synchronize all three elements precisely, and something extraordinary happens. Mental intention gains emotional density, and that combination anchors through the palms into electromagnetic patterns that begin interacting with the surrounding quantum field, collapsing probabilities and materializing possibilities that previously existed only as abstract potential. Experienced meditators can alter measurable magnetic fields around them simply by bringing their hands close. This is not a trick or illusion. Scientific instruments detect the changes. The magnetic field in that specific region shifts in intensity and pattern. These practitioners did not develop supernatural powers. They simply stopped suppressing, through rational doubt, a capacity that has always been present, encoded in the biological structure of the human body. You don't need to learn this power from scratch. It is already operating in you all the time at levels your ordinary consciousness does not monitor. Every thought you have while your hands perform any action imprints energetic information into that action. Every emotion you feel while touching something or someone transfers through contact. You are already an active transmitter of organized energy fields. The question is not acquiring new abilities. It is taking conscious control of processes that already happen automatically. The suppression of this power comes from doubt installed by materialist culture. You were conditioned to believe consciousness is a powerless epiphenomenon, that thoughts are just electrical discharges confined inside the skull, that hands exist solely to manipulate physical objects through muscle force. That conditioning creates a layer of skepticism that functions as an active block. But the block is fragile. All it takes is one moment of suspended disbelief, one instant of permission to experiment without judgment. Place your hands in front of your chest, palms facing each other a few inches apart, and simply feel the space between them. After a few seconds, you may begin to notice warmth, tingling, a sense of density in the air between your palms. That something is the electromagnetic field your hands are generating, becoming perceptible because you finally paid attention. Now you know. The answers you sought outside yourself were always here, in your own palms. But knowledge without practice is just intellectual entertainment. The real question is, will you keep living as if you were powerless, or will you start today exploring the biological technology that has always belonged to you? Will you let rational doubt paralyze you, or will you suspend skepticism for a few minutes and simply try? Place your hands in front of your chest right now. Feel the field between them. Notice what has always been there, waiting for your attention. This is only the beginning of a journey that can completely rewrite your relationship with reality. If this content awakens something in you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We have much more to explore about the hidden powers of the human body and consciousness. Your transformation starts now. The choice is yours.